Hey, welcome back to Made Up of Wires, where we are decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You can go to soten.z.dev to learn more. And what is this? This looks very different from what we're used to seeing. It looks like a new soten.z.dev. Might be enough to get me back into Discord. Congratulate. I know that this was something that Xanimo has been wanting to do for a while, provide a better overlay of progress. I did like the graphs, but because we are so far on so many things, this probably is a little bit better and shows the extent of the work as well. So what do we have? There's a lot of blanks, for one. That's because there are a lot of versions of the game that we just have not done anything with. My guess is that there's no tooling yet for Saturn. Some Saturn work has been done, so it's not completely true. And we don't have the Xbox version on here. I think that would be nice. I think people could work on that some as well. There are some blanks here. There is no Maria on the US and HD version of the game, which is, those will always remain blank. And look at this, first castle completely done in the US. Like I said, we have a lot of work to do on the second castle, and I would like to start doing that. VO6 and VO0 are a little further than this. I just haven't checked in the code or sent it out. What else do we have? We have some familiars that aren't done yet. We have weapons here. Weapons we should split as well. Anyway, very cool to see an updated version. Sorry, music way too loud. Competing over whatever that is in the background. So very cool. All the same links. But let's go to decomp.dev. I've not looked at this for quite a while. That seems accurate. I'm fine with that. 10 megabytes of code. Interesting. So, like I said, we have a lot of deduping that can be done throughout this, and so it would be somewhat interesting to go through and spend some time doing that, but I probably will be social again. Let's do that. So what I wanted to look at today, speaking of deduping, is I want to look at the chair and see, we know it's a chair. It looks similar. One second. Stand by. Apologies. Sorry about that. Sometimes phone calls need to be taken. Let's get back to it. So yeah, like I said, let's look at the chair, see what is going on, look at it compared to the other chairs that we have. We do have the sit function, which I'm guessing is the same. So we do have the same main functions. Let's see how they go, and if these are going to be the same. I'm going to do what I've been doing, which is to see if these compile first, and then we'll go to decomp.me, because this is relatively easy and cheap. That one is the same. How advanced? I haven't looked. I know that Gamester has been working on it and has been doing some stuff on the Saturn version. The question was, sorry, still no YouTube comments up above. How far along is the Saturn version? And I don't know. I know that it is being worked on. I've been wanting to look at it myself. But the best I can say is I don't know. So we're taking two of the functions that I think will be relatively safe. Okay, so we have some data that we need to update there, which is fine, we can do that. Let's move forward with that and see. All we need is the animation data, which should be relatively easy to find. So what I'm expecting here is a minor change. So the big difference between this chair in Olrox and all the other chairs is that this chair is breakable. I don't. Thanks for showing up, Eldritch. Good to have you. Eldritch probably knows better than most if any other chair in the game is breakable. There is a little bit of work to do here. Oh, interesting. So this is a very different looking function. Just those two. Let's go back down here. So we have initialize entity, and then down near pose timer, we're setting the animation. Let's look for something unique. The 19F is unique. The likelihood of it being the same palette offset is probably low though, but it is going to start with 8,000, which is a relatively safe number to look for. And I don't see that offhand. We do have an update anim function call, which does exist here as well. So I guess we start with initialize entity and move down from there. Oh, interesting. So this has it being set to BO0 prize drops. And this has been seen before. And again, what my theory about how BO0 came to be is that it started out as NO0, an early version of NO0, and was forked. And so it's possible that NO2, it's possible that NO2 has remnants of Olrox. I don't know, maybe. We know that there are some files that are shared, lots of files that are shared between the two. But it seems like some of these objects possibly were compiled early, and I don't know if they were sharing binaries as a way to build the final product, but what ends up happening is there's something like this where the animation is set to what we currently believe is prize drops, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So it's the wrong type, and one or the other is wrong. Either it's not prize drops, but we know that the code that references prize drops and the code that references this animation are pointing to the same thing, and that's wrong, because prize drops is not animation. So we need to figure out why and then what to do about it, because using prize drops as our animation frame is not very nice. I'm expecting entity chair to not match. Let's go look at dupes. And we'll see if we do have a match. Let's look at each chair. We should have 3 functions here. The 9-8 and the 2-4 are what we just found. And that's it. So the chair function itself doesn't match. So we'll use the chair as the foundation for the boss version of the chair. My guess is that a lot of the code is the same, but then there's obviously additional logic for it being destroyed in additional state. So let's start a decomp.me scratch. Always appreciate your deep knowledge, Eldritch. Okay, so we have a few things that we're gonna have to keep track of. RO data, a jump table. I guess we'll review the existing chair code. Oh no, what did I do? Forgot how to use my own tools. Oh, bummer. I think I have another SSH session, which is breaking my... Oh, no, I know what happened. I know what happened. I need to reconnect my copy buffer. Well, trapped. Need to find the SSH session that is stealing my copy buffer. Let's see. One second. Apologies. If you don't know, over SSH when you log in, you can also forward ports, which is nice. And yeah, showing 2. Okay, now I have to play whack-a-mole with kids. Well, you can forward ports. That's the important thing. And okay, so that's my current one. Let's see other IDs here. Possible the ports just weren't cleaned up. Why do I need this? Because there we go. That's what it was. The way I do copy and paste goes from my Linux box back to my Mac, and then I get it in my copy buffer. And everything is good usually until I switch network ports and the port forward breaks. All right, we have a pretty simple function, so maybe this is going to be not that different from the original. So I'm going to start by copying the original over. There's a few things I'm noticing that may or may not be relevant. All of these are globals that we already know, and then the one function that's different, we can deal with that later. Throw this e-init common into the context. I don't know if I can spell. Oh, I still need. Okay. Am I not in the right preset? I am in the right preset. Okay, so our version is it's a bit simplified from the original. So we're going to steal some things. And my guess is that this is how it was written. Basically taking the chair, adding some additional code to it. We have to look at the previous entity, so we're going to need some variables here. And we need to do some math. My guess is that this is the previous entity's params. That's what I'm going to go with. And the next one is 3EO past the current. Oh, my goodness. Somewhere along the line, Spotlight stopped working. Macs are great until they're not great. 3EO divided by BC is 5. 5 times BC is 3AC, so 3EO minus 3AC is offset 34. Now we could go look at our entity, see what offset 34 is, which is flags. So the other one might be flags as well. It likely is. So let's assume it's that. So we're at entity plus 5. Nope, self plus 5. I don't know yet if we're going to need a pointer for that. We'll assume not. And we'll say that this is flags as well. And we need a var 0. So we don't know what that is yet. So, and we don't know what the type is. I'm going to assume a sine 16, since that's largely what these tend to be. We have one more arg0 somewhere. Hey, nobody, somebody. Doing it by yourself? I mean, just the streams by myself. There's a lot of people. There's dozens of us. Dozens. Working on it. What a miserable pile of secrets, that's what. All right, so not perfect. So a couple interesting things. We have a load word here instead of a load half. Usually what that means is either the type is wrong, which I don't think it is, or we're loading 2 fields at the same time, which is going to be 34 and... Oh no, it just means I have the wrong type for my variable. That's what it means. Okay. I'm going to rename vars v0. I'm going to rename that flag. I don't know what that means yet, but that's okay. Our function name is wrong, as we took it from the old one. We'll be able to rename that later. Those are just global symbols that we're resolving a different way. And so that's fine too. So we have one more thing, which is at the end here. We'll have to determine whether or not this is past the end of the switch. It looks like it is. It looks like we're calling update anim. Oh, duh. I think it's just this. So we're going to define chair debug. Let's do it right here. Because it does look like that is enabled, and yeah, that's all it was. So the only thing that was different is this up here. So we should be able to pretty easily add a just some conditional compilation to the other chair. So as always, how this comes in after disassembly is include ASM for each of the functions that the disassembler finds. And we just get rid of that and put our code in there, and assuming I did my job, this will work, and it'll say okay, and it does. So the next piece of this is going to be combining these two files. And my biggest concern is this prize drops. So let's start there. Let's do a diff between the two and see where the differences are. Like I said, the prize drops, the function names, we can fix the function names pretty easily. This additional debug stuff, let's fix the function names and then we'll keep going. Hey, Kiritancito, good to have you. Going well. So because these functions are static, usually what happens is the disassembler, the tool for splitting, the linking script that it writes, the include ASM macros, those all need to work together. And so we need to be able to determine what names things are going to get between those three different aspects of the decompilation. Once everything is in C, we're just worried about the normal C compiler, and we don't have to synchronize names between things because the C compiler does that for us. The only time it matters is if we have some things in assembly and some things in C. We may need to put a symbol in the symbol table to link those, but in this case we don't. So we can replace these symbols to get it to match the shared chair code. And that's the goal here now. Is now that we know that the Olrock's chair is very similar to the other chairs in the game, to get those to actually be the same, compile from the same code, even though there's small differences. So that should work. And so I'll kind of incrementally make changes and then do diffs. Sometimes I'll do a vim diff where I can edit at the same time. That makes it a little easier. Let's get back over here. All right, and so we don't have the data yet. We'll work on that in a second. I am going to throw this chair debug at the top because we'll need to leave it at the top. And basically that's going to be telling, when we import this other shared file, it tells that file, hey, add this additional debug code. We didn't end up using entity. If we include flag, it's not being used, so everything should still compile fine. I'm going to include that, and we can, as we're making the changes, we can go through and recompile and make sure everything works. This is going to compile for the PlayStation as well as for the US, and it should, assuming the build system is working correctly, it should rebuild all the different stages that depend on that chair. Next, we're going to say if boss is BO0, we're going to compile this code, and when we're compiling it for BO0, that's exactly what's happening. And for everything else, nothing else is BO0. That's including this. So we can include it, oops, we can include it here as well. And it should work just as well for everybody else as it does here. We have, I don't like it. So in my opinion, when you're building something and you have we have a reasonably complex build with about 3,000, 4,000 nodes. And after you build, if you've not changed anything, nothing should be done, but something is getting touched in the build process where this ends up flopping between 85 and 600 files. And I don't like that, because then I don't know for sure that the files that I want to rebuild are actually being rebuilt. I expect, it looks like the difference between 85 and when I change that chair header is 96. I expect about 11 files to need to be recompiled if I change the chair header. So I'm fine with that, I think. Whatever is causing the 590 to be rebuilt. I don't know. Okay, so the next difference is this prize drops. So we can do that with a macro, and that's probably what I'll do. So we're going to say if def boss is bo0, extern animation frame OVL export prize drops array. Then we're going to define animation to be OVL exports prize drop. Else, we're going to do this, and we're going to define animation be this global variable with a bad name. Oops, not. And then we're going to close that out. So again, this should work for both. And then the last piece of this puzzle is, instead of, we can get rid of this declaration. Instead of using the specific variable, we'll use that macro. And then that unifies the rest of the file. So the only difference we should have now is the header and the chair debug between the two versions. And that looks like it's the case. So since that's the case, let's keep doing this in vimdiff. I can include the chair header, get rid of everything else, and we still build. I'm going to not do that yet. Why am I not going to do that yet? Because we have to do the PSP version as well, and I don't know for sure what lies with the PSP version. So the PSP version was compiled separately, it was compiled from source, and so we do see fixes between the two. So I'm going to exit out of vimdiff, and then we're going to kind of slowly go through the same thing in the PSP version. And the hope is that we can unify these as much as possible. Because of how this is, however, we don't know yet. Oh, I need to... This one did get the updated name, which is interesting. And the goal, since we were able to unify BO0 with the rest of the code for the chair entity in the game, if we can unify the PSP code with the BO0 version, then we can just build from one source file for both versions of the game, which is what we like to do. What I would like, and we don't, I started looking at this a while ago, but I think it would be really fun when we do get portable builds and can easily build custom builds of the game, to be able to choose all these things at runtime. We're a ways away from that, though. So I'm going to look at PSP, boss, BO0, non-matching, E-chair, BOO, E-chair. And we have 3 functions. We're going to do the PSP function. And what we want to see down here is what is the name, if any, oh. That's unexpected. Is this the CB8 function? Oh, it's not. Never mind. There we go. What variable? Can we tell which variable is being loaded? And this one looks like trim buff, which is also broken, but in a different way. Is that true? So let's go look at that code. There's no prim buff. Boy. So now we have a third broken version of this. I don't trust it. Oh, is this function ever called? This function is never called. I think what has happened is an extra function has made its way accidentally into the chair split. The PSP version, when it's compiled, it will call unused functions. Oh, would this be an unused function? Let's see. Oh, drat, I have the wrong name for it. What's the old name for this function? Yeah, it's never referenced. Okay, so I think our split is bad, and this last function shouldn't be here at all. What that does mean, though, is we can include this function. Oh, but this function references the animation. And so if it doesn't exist, the animation doesn't exist either. Let's see. I'm going to get rid of this line for now. Everything else should be fine. Yeah, that works. So we need to work on the split a little bit. So I'm going to open a new tab with this, and we'll fix that, and then we'll go. So what I was saying was Metro works when it compiles. It looks at the static functions in an object that it gets created. So when you compile a C file, an object is produced, and it looks at all of the functions in that. If a function is marked static, which means it's only visible to the other functions in that file, and that function is not called or referenced by any other function, then it just gets rid of it because it's unneeded. And that appears to be what's happening here, but the code that matched this assumed that there were 3 functions in this file incorrectly, I believe. So we need to figure out what this other function is. Just make sure that that is the correct assessment of what's going on here. Okay, so I'm going to assume that this is just another entity that we haven't figured out yet. So it's going to go get its own file. So what do we need to do? We need to figure out where that is. That's right. Yeah, and that code is in the chair itself. I don't know if you were, when we were doing the chair originally, I updated the chairs to heal Alucard slowly. So you'd sit down and it would heal you. Oh, that was a nice change. And was able to do it as a... I think I got it without shifting anything. Maybe not. There's some DRA changes that were necessary for it. It was in the area, though, where the sleep state is, where all that logic is. Okay, what am I doing? Looking for non-matching. The joke at the time was the chair that I chose was the outer wall chair. It's like right outside of a save room, so there's absolutely no purpose to the mechanic. And it was super slow. But it was just a proof of concept. Kind of a funny thing. He fell asleep first, and then after a while he would start healing. Heavy Metal Mixer, good to have you. Very good. Alright, what am I doing here? Looking for chairs. So we need the CB8 function. And like I said, I don't think that this function is related. Looks like something that does spawning, which is not what we're doing with the chair. I'm a little surprised in here, and I've never gone through the steps and broken them down for the chair, but it does also look like the code for the chairs being breakable might exist for all chairs, possibly, maybe. Okay, so we need a new split. Go ahead and config splat ESP. We'll go down to each chair. We have two choices. Oh, it's not part of the background, so it does look like it's its own file, which is fine. And so we're just going to create that file now. And we just name the file the offset it is in the binary. So let's go grab the boilerplate. Going around in circles. And now this isn't part of each chair anymore. It's part of this new one. And we don't have any data in each chair. That could be correct. What happened here? Did I not save? Oh, my fault. Bad error messages from me. Too confusing. There actually is a an issue right now for Metro Wrap that was just opened a couple days ago. about my terrible error messages. Give me 1 second. Now I've documented that for myself. And so this is working. I need to remember to... So what this is telling me so far is actually the BO0 version of the chair, where we're pointing to this prize drops thing. We can actually keep that logic because this function isn't used anyway. And that works. So then the last piece of this is, are the changes that I made for entity chair, are they compatible with the PSP version of the game? They may not be, and we'll go into why if it doesn't work. Because, well, anyway, we'll see. My guess is that they're not going to work because I'm missing a variable. I'm expecting this to fail, and it did. So this is what happens when a version of the game fails. So PSP EU, something is wrong, and that's BO0, which is what we have. And that means the entity chair code is incorrect. And like I said, I kind of expected that to be the case. We'll go grab this. The PlayStation version compiled with GCC, the PSP version compiled with MetroWorks. The code is the same, mostly, unless it was changed between the versions of the game. So we can find one set of source code that works on both versions of the game. And we have some fortune of historical choices. With the PSP version, it becomes a little easier to decompile, especially if we have a nice starting point like the PlayStation version. And my guess is that I need, I said that I had an entity pointer variable. My guess is that I'm going to need that. So let's do our declaration over here. Possibly not. Yes, that is exactly what's needed. So here, we're not doing the pointer manipulation in line. We're going to do the pointer initially, the pointer arithmetic first, and then use that pointer. Likewise, here, it's going to be self plus 5, and then entity. This looks like we don't have an explicit check for 0. Probably not here either. We have one more check, though, that's missing. Let's look at M2C and see what it thinks. And this is probably an optimization from... Yes, okay, so we actually don't have the var v0. So we're doing if... Rams is 1. If this flag is set, destroy entity and return. Otherwise, do the same thing. And now all that code is correct. So the rest of this I would anticipate being correct as well. There's going to be button differences, that's fine. So this is the sit command. And then the function differences I'm not concerned with. These are pointers that are different, no big deal there. So let's go take this over and see if this works. Still not working. Okay, so I'm going to use diff boss. This means that I'm very wrong somewhere. So do I have the chair debug? That's not it. Okay, so let's go back over and see if there's some obvious place that I'm very wrong. Let's over here fix the function name. I'm going to compile this one more time and see if there's any errors or warnings. So what happens, and it's only incidentally important, if you do something that generates additional instructions or removes instructions, everything after that gets shifted. And so you get big blobs of differences like this, where there is some additional data. So everything after it needs to move, and now every address is wrong. If I can figure out what that is here, that makes it much easier to resolve. There may be RO data and data. That's it. I think that's it. Maybe not. We'll see. So I don't have any data mapped to this right now, but there's data being generated. All the strings generate some data that goes into the data section of that file. Usually we get a warning or an error about it, but not getting that right now. So immediately after background house is going to be where the data for the chair lives. And so we need to figure out what that is and map that as well. I'm hoping that's all it is, but we will see. If it's not, we'll figure it out. So we know these strings are definitely in there. What we don't know is if this other data is in here. So we have a 32-bit 1 followed by two 16-bits, 5000 and C1000. I'm going to assume that that is not part of this. So we're going to add a new split there. And I don't know what that is yet, but it could be related to what's before NO2 background. This other file. That's what I'm going with. And we may or may not be correct about that, but we'll see. And that was it. Very nice. Okay, so now we're in the same situation we were before, except we have the PSP version and the PlayStation version. We need to make sure that those files are the same. And then we need to go and make sure that the shared version of the chair is also the same. So let's do PSP and PlayStation first. And we're going to prefer the PSP version, with the exception of this macro here. And it looks like that's the only difference, which is great. Build to make sure that both versions work. Good. And then we're gonna, let's see, what order do I want to go? I'm gonna go back to the shared chair. I'm going to copy the whole thing, paste it so we know that they're the same. That worked fine. Now we can get rid of this content. We do need the chair debug. That's the way that we configure what the chair is going to be, or whether we need that additional block of code or not. And that works fine. Now I want to do the same thing for the PSP version. And that works as well. So now the PSP version and the PlayStation version are the same. So I can get rid of the namespace for the PSP, and now we don't have any more PSP specific code for this particular segment. And the scariest part, as always, is doing our git rm force on our chair. All the work that we did is no longer available. We're going to look at the build, find everything related to chair. We're going to delete all that too, just to make sure that when we build, we're getting the PlayStation version of that, and that all worked fine. And let's see what our difference is. So we have the stuff from last week, which is the marionette, fixing our splits for the chair, fixing data for the chair, more marionette stuff from the US. So it's unrelated. This will go away, but I'm going to add it anyway. Unrelated. Not checking in comments or unfinished stuff at the moment. And what is this? What we have here? This is deduped. I think I am going to add it. Not going to add that. I'm going to add that. Okay, and now here's our chair stuff. So we got rid of all the include ASMs. We're just including the common chair. Same thing with marionette. Same thing with NO2 background. Not doing Aurochs yet. And then here's our changes for the shared chair. Setting the broken variable, adding our custom stuff. Now that I look at it, we can get rid of flag. That's not being used anymore. We'll fix that, changing that to a common. And this is unrelated. This we will take. This we will take. So I'm going to go back and look at each chair. And we don't have to do flag anymore. And that all works. So another big tranche. Let's look at what I have staged here. And what I want to look for specifically is lines that are minuses of include ASM. And Prep doesn't know that that's not an option. Let's try this another way. Let's look at what that looks like first. There's no space. Okay. Let's count them. So 33 include ASMs that were there that currently are pending to get rid of. I think I'll probably push that in its current state. There is one section of shared code that could be pulled out, but it's really NO2 specific, and I couldn't find what it does. Oh, Heavy Metal Mixer, sorry I missed your comment earlier about no PSP specific code. There's absolutely PSP specific code. About 99% of the code, though, is unchanged from the different versions of the game. It's so unchanged that there is a re-implementation of the PSP SDK for the PSP version of the game. I don't think it was Blood Fountain. It is in that room. I spent a long time looking for it. So in that room, I know. Let's see. I did name. I named this file background, and it's a terrible name. But the only thing that I could figure out from that is that this function is the background color for that room with the houses in the back, with the two Valhalla Knights in it. And so, yeah, the way that I look for these, and give me a better option if you have one, I replace the function with just a return, and usually what happens is that entity then disappears, and sometimes if it's a dark area and now it's just black, you can't necessarily tell right away, but that's how I found the prisoner, and half a dozen other things that hadn't been named in NO2 yet that were unused in Olrox. But going in that room, I know that it's being triggered, that function's being called, and I was unable to figure it out. That is another option, is to like change the Z priority, change if there's anything related to the colors, changing that as well. So I might go back and do that. The Blood Fountain, that one I couldn't find either, but that should be relatively easy to find. I'm not sure if it's in this one or not. It doesn't look like it. But yeah, that's those are all. What's the function? I don't know. There was 3 or 4 of them, and it was last week, so I can't remember that far. I'll come up with a list and bring them back tomorrow. All right, that's it. Go to zoten.z.dev, check out the crazy new progress. Like I said, US is coming along great. First castle completely done. There's one function in Cell. It'd be fun to go back and look at that function, and a lot of people have put a lot of time into this function. It's not included in the PSP. It's not a called function, and so it gets called. Stripped dead code stripping pulls it out. So we don't know what to do to solve that one yet. Main, this is mostly SDK functions. Crazy, 82% of PSP main, that wasn't even started a couple months ago. And there's a lot of stuff in there. Like I said, a re-implementation of the PSP SDK. A little surprised that Sen for PSP didn't get started. Or Top. Top is pretty simple. Anyway, but yeah, much nicer. Can see the progress very easily across different versions of the game. Some of these will be easier than others if we get to them. JP10 and JP10 is JP 1.0 and HD, I think, are identical. So for the stages at least, so anything that gets done in one gets done in the other. And yeah, the others haven't been really looked at too much, but that's it. Why no PSP US? Interesting. Okay. Anyway, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Adios.